we can make a list of possible zeros of this function and actually find the zeros. What I notice is this is an x to the third power function, so we should come up with 3 zeros. They can either be real zeros or they can be imaginary zeros, but we're going to have 3 of them. So to make my list of possible zeros, I'm going to do the factors of my constant term divided by the factors of my leading coefficient, and there's a 1 there. So I've got the factors of 15, which are 1, -1, 3, -3, 5, -5, and 15, and -15. And I'm going to divide that by the factors of 1, which are 1 and -1, because it could be 1 times 1 to get 1, or it could be -1 times -1 to get 1. So let's make our list of possible factors. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by -1, -1. And I know I'm going to get the same ones when I try -1. 3 and -3. I don't need to try -3 because I'll get repeats. 5 and -5. I don't need to try -5. Those will be repeats. And same with 15. So this is the list of possible factors that we have to choose from. I can do guess and check and try these and look for a 0 on synthetic division, or I can use a calculator to help me find the first one, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to type in my equation, and I've already got this one in here, x cubed plus x squared minus x plus 15. Remember the x is right here by the green key. If you ever need help with your calculator, you're welcome to come in. If you don't have a calculator at home, you can use the TI-84 calculator if it's on your Chromebook. I think you can also get an app on your phone as well. The unfortunate part with using that or the computer is that you can't use them when you take the ACT. So when I put this in the graphing calculator, I'm going to hit graph. And it looks like this graph is passing through -3. So I know that's the one I want to try first with synthetic division. And -3 is on my list, so that's good. It's probably right. So I have 1, 1, -1, and 15. What I'm looking for is a 0 right here. If that's a 0, then I know I've found my first 0. Bring down the first term, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply. So I do get a 0 here, so -3 is a 0. Also, that tells me x plus 3 is a factor. So what's left is x squared minus 2x plus 5. And if I want to find the zeros of that, I could try to factor. Unfortunately, this one does not factor, so we're going to have to use the quadratic formula to find the others. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. So in this one I would get 4 subtract 20. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of -16 all over 2. So I know that -16 just goes to 4i. So I've got x equals 2 plus or minus 4i over 2. And 2 will go into each of these, so I have x equals 1 plus or minus 2i. So I have 2 zeros here, 1 plus 2i and 1 minus 2i, and I have another 0 here with -3, and that's good because I was supposed to have 3 zeros. And if we look at our graph, you see how we only have one that actually goes through the graph. The other one, if I zoom this out, is going to be somewhere up here. It doesn't necessarily cross the x-axis because it's an imaginary root. So I have 1 real root and 2 imaginary roots, so that means that it only crosses the x-axis in one place. Let's do one more of these. If I were you, I would try it, stop the video, and see if we get the same answer. So here's the function. 2x to the 4th minus 9x cubed plus 8x squared plus 9x minus 10. So I know that this one is going to have 4 zeros. They could all be real. There could be some real and some imaginary. And remember, back from the quadratic unit, anytime it's imaginary, they have to come in groups of 2. Just like on this previous problem, they have to be in groups of 2 because we had to square root a negative number, so we used the quadratic formula. So imaginaries always come in groups of 2. So this one I know I'm going to have 4 zeros. Let's make our possible list. It's going to be the factors of this divided by the factors of this. This one's going to be a little more tricky because we have more factors. So the factors of 10 are 1, negative 1, 2, negative 2, 5, negative 5, and 10 and negative 10. The factors of 2 are 1, negative 1, 2, and negative 2. So let's make our list. I know with 1, I'm going to have 1, negative 1. That exhausts those. 2, whoops, I forgot to do 1 divided by 2. So that'd be 1/2 and negative 1/2. 2 divided by 1 is 2 and negative 2. But then I need to do 2 divided by 2. That's 1. I already have it. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. I already have that one. So 2 is done. 5 will give me 5 and negative 5. But 5 divided by 2 will give me 5 halves and negative 5 halves. And 10 will give me 10 and negative 10. And then 10 divided by 2 will give me 5 and negative 5, which I already have. So this is my possible list of factors. I can put that in the graphing calculator and see where I want to start. I think I'll go ahead and do that. I think you should practice it too. So I'm going to clear out what I had before and type in 2x to the 4th minus 9x cubed plus 8x squared plus 9x minus 10 and a graph. So I'm looking for some places that I want to try, places where this graph crosses the x-axis. It looks like it happens maybe at -1, maybe at +1, and then maybe some decimal places right in here. I'm going to check that out by pushing the table and looking for sure. Yeah, -1 is for sure 1. It looks like 1 is 1, and maybe 2 is 1. So let's check that out. Let's start with -1, and then we'll try 1 and 2. So these were the ones that we were going to try. We were going to try -1, 1, and 2 and see what happens. All right, so let's start with 1. 2. Yep, 1 works because this gives me 0. All right, let's try the next one we saw in our graphing calculator, 2. Yep, 2 gives me a 0. I like that. All right, we also thought we saw 1, 2, oh, we saw -1 on the table. There's that one. Let's see here. This was x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x to the 7th. So this is x to the 1st. So we have 2x minus 5 equals 0. So 2x equals 5. So x equals 5 halves. And that was actually on our list as well. So that means that the zeros are at 1, 2, -1, and 5 halves. So that's crossing kind of between 2 and 3. So these are the places where it would cross the x-axis. Those are our roots. This time they're all real numbers. So we should see on the graph there was -1, there was +1, there was 2, and there was 2.5. So we could see all 4 zeros on this graph.